I'm Morgan's mom, and I've kind of been the voice behind her videos. And as you've heard in her previous videos, I actually was tested for Lyme disease. The first time she saw her LLMD, I had a Genetics lab test, which is a Western blot test done by a Genetics lab, and it's 95% accurate. So we know now that I do have Lyme disease for sure, without a doubt. Initially, when Morgan got sick, I was actually really scared that she was having some genetic issues of rheumatological and neurological issues that I have had over the last couple years. And actually, I initially got sick. Well, I had fatigue problems and some on and off health issues before, but primarily I got sick in April of 2010. And I actually just woke up one day and I had I had tingling in my arms and tons of pain. I could barely bend my fingers, and so they sent me over for an MRI. And found out I had a herniated disc in my back, or in my neck actually. And so I went and saw a neurosurgeon and found out that I had to have neck surgery because it was pinching my vertebrae. Is pinching too much, so they had to do surgery, and they actually put me on steroids, prednisone, to help with the inflammation that I had. And I had nerve root damage in my back, and I had some other issues in my back that they really didn't know what was going on at the time. But so at the time I saw a physician's assistant, and when shortly after this initially happened, before my surgery, I started swelling up. In the past, I had issues with swelling up in my right leg because I lost the interior of my right leg in a car accident that I was in about 8 years ago. My fiance was killed in a car accident at the time, and so it was a really bad car accident. It was a serious car accident, and so I lost everything down to the bone from like mid-calf to like mid-thigh. And so I'd had issues of swelling in that leg, and then I began having issues of swelling in the other leg, and I was getting lymphangitis, chronic lymphangitis, and cellulitis, which is an infection of the skin and an infection of the lymphatic system, and it can be really serious. But other than that, that's really what I had going on before. But this time it was different. In the spring of 2010, I actually, my whole body swelled up, and right now I'm actually pretty puffy again. I can see it in my face, but you don't know me, or for those of you that do, could probably see it in my face, my neck. I get it all over the place. I basically have to stay laying down most of the time. It's what I've spent most of the last 2 years of my life doing, is resting and laying down. I actually, initially, my physician's assistant didn't believe me that I was actually really sick and that I was in so much pain. And so then it actually got so bad, and I had so many issues. They took me up to the ER at Mayo Clinic. My mom did, at the advice of another doctor at a different hospital, a specialist. And when I got up there, I had to sit for 3 days in a waiting room and wait to see somebody right away. And when I got in there, they had never seen a case like mine before. I was 32 years old. I had vascular necrosis, which means in my hips, which means my bones in my hips have started to die. Well, they have died in areas, and it has continued to spread. It started in my left hip, and now I have it in both hips. My hips are both partially collapsed. I need to have them replaced, but I haven't been healthy enough to have the replacement surgery, and they've been trying to put it off because I'm so young. And so, like, a second hip replacement is now somewhat common, but a third hip replacement with my age is a genuine possibility. And that's where it gets really complicated. And so they're trying to avoid that. So then I had to start seeing a rheumatologist locally because Mayo Clinic, after 4 months of being up there Monday through Friday, we stayed at a place where nurses used to stay. It was really inexpensive per night, but it got really expensive being up there. My mom had to take me up there so my husband could continue to go to work because I was fighting to get my disability insurance through my work. And, I mean, we almost lost everything. My kids went through all of this, not understanding what was going on. I didn't understand what was going on. And we had to have my 4-year-old daughter with us the whole time because we couldn't afford for her to be at daycare through the week. And I had finally gotten my dream job a couple years before this happened. I was a territory manager for a chemical sales company, actually a chemical distribution company for agricultural chemicals. And so I had gotten my dream job and finally got where I had been working to get for 10 years. So I had went to a lot of doctors that they ignored tests, MRIs. I had swelling in my brain. They ignored it. Just blood tests that were abnormal. Doctors just didn't know what was wrong with me, so they just pushed me on to the next doctor because they didn't want to deal with me. I was in a lot of pain. They don't like typically to deal with patients in a lot of pain because there's a lot of issues involved with that. And then, I had a complex case, something they hadn't seen before. So, but Mayo did a really good workup on me. I had about every test imaginable. I saw a lot of specialists. Went through a lot of painful experiences up there. And they found out I was actually diagnosed with over 50 diagnoses. Mostly were symptoms and secondary issues of whatever was causing all of this. But there was nothing that they could put into a neat little box and say, this is what's wrong with you. This is what's causing this. Because my rheumatologist up there was baffled. He said he had never seen a case like mine in 38 years. And seeing so many different doctors, I would go to one doctor and I would hear one thing, and I'd go to another doctor and I'd hear another thing, and so forth. So it was really hard because I was trying to get support from friends and family, and I would tell them one thing, and then I would go to another doctor, and another doctor would tell me another thing. And so I think people just kind of started falling out of my life because it was getting complicated for me to explain this, and I think people just didn't understand it and didn't know how to deal with it, and it was just overwhelming for everybody. So I went from being a very social, outgoing person to this person who could barely get up off the couch to go to the bathroom. I couldn't play with my kids.
Do you want me to stop?
I still can't play with my kids like other moms get to. Before I got sick, I never missed one event of my kids. Even if I had to be out of town, out of state for work, I always organized it around their Little League games, everything. I made sure I was there. I knew it was important. And since I've been sick, I've missed more things than I've been able to go to. That's the hardest thing, is what this has done to my kids. It's really hard to not feel like you're a burden on your family when you feel like you have nothing to contribute. It's really hard to feel like you're not a burden on a friendship when you need you need all the time, and you have such little to give back. Anyways, that's the reality of a lot of people with Lyme disease.
We might need to make a second video.
I've met and heard a lot of stories very similar to mine. I've been diagnosed with lupus, autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, so many things. And the only thing now that I know I have, finally, after a $200 test, is chronic Lyme disease, late stage chronic Lyme disease. And it's taken everything from my life, but I'm going to fight to get it back.
Do you want me to stop?
Just, everybody, please realize how serious this is. If you know someone that is suffering from Lyme disease, it's not a minor thing. You're tired beyond belief. The pain is
11 minutes.
Overwhelming and atrocious at times. You just can't understand it. I didn't understand it when my mom went through it. I was not supportive like I should have been for her. And that's one thing about Lyme disease, is the community of people that have Lyme disease have lost so much, like I have, like my family has. And they understand. And that's why when you find out you have Lyme disease, that's why you have so many people that will fight with you, that will fight for you. That's why there's so many advocacy groups out there. Because these people have all been pushed aside. They've been neglected, dismissed by doctors. They've been called names, like hypochondriacs, or trying to get attention. I mean, my God, I can't imagine what anybody could possibly get out of this. I just want my life back. I don't even know who I am when I look in the mirror anymore.